there you are. Morning, crew. Just getting organised with me. Let's see what we've got. Oh, not quite yet. Come on, YouTube. You can do it. Any minute now. There we go. I don't want that. Skip advert. Much better. Ah, Simon Roll. Good morning, Simon. Cheers to you, sir. Now, Simon, since it's just you and me, I have been to the PO box. I haven't yet been to the PO box. I went earlier in the week, hadn't turned up. I've had a notification, something else has arrived, small enough to be classed as a letter. So actually in the PO box itself, it could be your parcel. So I'll go and check. I'm back up in Auckland Monday and Tuesday. So I'll go have a look for you and I'll let you know. Mike Brzezinski, good morning all. Good morning, Mike. Good to have you on board, sir. So, what have you all been up to this week? I'm going to start mine in a minute when we get a few more viewers, because I've got quite a good little story for you. It's not often things turn out the way that they did on this particular occasion, hence the title for this live stream. Bit of a story for you. Simon sat with a nice beer and a bag of Walker's cheese and crisps. Good man. Killswitch BB, hello peeps. Good morning, Killswitch. George, good morning. Hello, George. Good to have you on board, mate. So, my week. Well, my week was filled with admin work. It really was. It was a case of just get up to Auckland and sit in front of the computer screen for 3 days solid to get caught up. And I'm very pleased to say that I managed to get caught up, which is, there was a lot of things against me. I kept getting pulled away to do other stuff, but I think after day 2, people realized that I had to just get on with what I had to get on with and sort of left me alone on the third day. The third day being sort of Thursday, because Monday was pretty much eaten up getting up to Auckland. I did manage a little bit of admin work on Monday afternoon, but not very much at all, to be fair. I was pretty knackered. Who else have we got? Oh, Muller. Hello from Germany, Muller Volker. Igors, good evening. How is the weather? We have -20 in Latvia. Holy shit, that's cold. -2 in Hamburg. Wow. Mr. Smith. Don't get that. Joss, snow in the Netherlands. Wow, that'd be fun. You must have a few skidoos and stuff in the Netherlands, or snowmobiles. Good evening. Yes, good evening to you too. Simon Rawl, 2 degrees C in the UK at the minute. Oh, Mum will be chilly in her little cottage. So, my week. Who have we got? I've got 24 people already. That's incredible. Osman471. Morning, everybody. Good morning, Osman. So I've covered the first part of my week. So we got to sort of Thursday afternoon, and the plan of attack at that point was to get out and go and gather up. Very last minute, unfortunately, but I had to get my admin work stuff done first. Get out and go and collect all the bits and pieces we needed to do the Ute engine swap. Now, if you remember from last week's live stream, I think I mentioned that Ben's Ute, he had a problem. And he was very concerned, actually. It was a very loud, what he thought was a knocking noise from the engine. He sent me an MP3 file. I had a little listen to it, and it really did sound like one of the big ends had gone. He had taken the sump off to verify. Couldn't get the sump off because it was tucked under the gearbox, and he couldn't really go any further on the driveway. So Thursday night, 7 o'clock sharp, picked him up, in the evening, by the way. Picked him up, picked the Ute up, put it on the trailer, and we made our way down to the cottage. He'd also gone online. He'd been bidding on another Ute, a donor vehicle for another engine, just to keep him on the road because he needs that vehicle. I say truck. It's a pickup truck. It's a 1-ton pickup. It's tiny compared to the pickups you have in the States. So he actually won this other Ute. It was a white one, pickup. Sorry. And Friday morning was scheduled for early start. Go and pick it up, and it was just north of Rotorua. Now, because I'd worked on Sunday to go and collect an ROV, I had obviously had Friday off, which was nice. It was really nice, actually. It was good not to have to do anything other than stuff for Ben, really. We got there, and a bit of a story in itself, to be fair. Had a little look around the ute to make sure it sort of matched the description, because we hadn't done a viewing prior to purchase. It was sort of buying it blind, which is always a bit dodgy. And everything, so it seemed to start okay. Clutch was very low, the clutch pedal, and it's a hydraulic clutch on one of those. So that was a bit of a concern to me, but not the end of the world. I mean, it had done 200,000 kilometers by this point, 220, I think. So it sort of passed everything. I said to Ben, I said, look, you need to go for a test drive. You need to take it out on the road, just verify if that clutch is not slipping yet. Check the gears, that kind of stuff, make sure it pulls okay. And he did. He got it fired up and took it for a test drive, came back quite happy. Grumbled a bit about the clutch, which, you know, I would have done too, to be fair, because that wasn't disclosed in the description. But we handed over the money to the guy. We didn't want to, you know, barter. Oh, Simply Diagnostics. Good morning. How are you, Steve? So then we had a little chat, you know, and then Ben came to start the ute, and of course, it wouldn't start. I thought, what the hell? Checked the fuel gauge, and sure enough, it was right at the bottom of the gauge. So we chucked a bit of fuel in it, put a little bit down the carb to give it some, you know, best chance of starting up. And I had noticed at this point that the vehicle had a much smaller capacity battery fitted than it really should. Crank speed was pretty slow, to be honest. So we checked for spark, still wouldn't start. Had a good spark. It was it's got the electronic ignition as this one because it's 2 years newer than Ben's. And we were running out of time. You know, we only had the Friday and the Saturday before Ben had to go back to Auckland to actually do the engine swap. So I said, look, let's just get it on the trailer. We can do some more tests at home. We know it runs. It wasn't making any knocking noises. The engine seemed fine. It wasn't smoking. Let's get it on the trailer. But we thought we'd give it one little bump start down the road to see if we could bump it off. And sure enough, we couldn't. And then the chap says, oh, look, I'll tow it behind my ute. So I said, fair enough. We'll put a strap on there, give it a tug off. And sure enough, it fired up and it cleared. I think it was flooded. I think there's an issue with the auto choke. I think the choke was sticking on. So we got it on the trailer. Well, actually, it stalled. Ben drove it onto the trailer. He stalled out going onto the trailer. So I kicked him out of the driver's seat. It did start, which was it took a while, but it did fire up. I got it going and got it straight on the trailer, strapped up, and we got it back. And sure enough, it started on the trailer. When we got home, it fired up and we got it off the trailer and everything's happy. So I said to Ben, I said, look, before we start, let's have a proper look at your ute and just verify this big end fault, because I hadn't actually listened to it by that point. So we got it in the garage, in the workshop, just in here, most of it anyway, not all of it, and got it fired up. You give it a rev, and it just didn't sound big end to me. It wasn't a hard, crisp knock that really got a lot worse as engine revs increased, which is a good telltale. Certainly nothing from the top end, but there was a distinct noise, and it was linked to engine revs. So I said, look, let's dig a bit deeper. So I started to take the belts off and stuff, and I thought maybe it was a bearing that was going, you know, or something, you know, external to engine, an ancillary issue, maybe an alternator or maybe the belt. And anyway, took the alternator belt off, and this is what I found. Quite surprising, actually. This is obviously, I just cut it off because that's the way I am. Okay, can you spot the difference? I'm seeing it's on the camera for you. So not too bad, not too bad, not too bad, not too bad. It is moving, by the way. Not too bad. No, oh my word. What's that? Ah, that doesn't look right, does it? So this belt runs the water pump and the alternator, just to give you an idea. Nothing else, just those two items off the crankshaft pulley. And I thought, well, something's obviously seized up to cause that to happen. The belt's stopped turning and the crankshaft pulley obviously continued to rotate. And that's what's eating away at the belt. So with the belt off, I spun the, oh my word, I'll watch that later. Cheers, Budget and Leggett. We'll get rid of that. Right. And so I spun the alternator. It sounded a little bit noisy. Spun the water pump pulley. There was no play in the bearings, no leakage, no nothing. It was nice and quiet. So I thought, well, I don't think it's the water pump. It's most likely going to be the alternator. So we went to go have a look at his donor vehicle, and sure enough, same alternator. So I said, look, your alternator's spinning now, but when you spun it, you could hear the brushes on the armature. It was quite noisy on the brushes. I thought, well, I wonder if maybe one of the brushes has just jammed momentarily or something, one of the bearings has seized. So I said, look, whilst you're in, let's swap the alternator out, because we know that the one, or we suspect that the one on your donor vehicle is good. It wasn't noisy at all, and it spun fine. So we slapped that on, and we went, and I actually put the two belts, this is how tight Ben is, we actually put the two belts on off the donor vehicle just for diagnostic purposes, ran it up, and noise completely gone. So I think the noise that Ben could hear was this belt flapping around in the pulleys every time that went round the pulleys. It was wasn't slipping, but at some point obviously it had. So we didn't have an engine swap to do. It was bloody good. And another part of the story, Ben did actually drain the oil out, obviously, when he was taking the sump off, and I asked him to inspect the oil to see if there's any metal fragments in there at all. And he said, no, actually the oil, although it's black, it's due an oil change, it's not contaminated in any way, shape or form. There was no white metal in there. There was just nothing. It was fine. He was going to take the oil filter off and cut it open and have a look in there, but he didn't have time. It was getting late at night. So no, we didn't have an engine swap to do. We just, put the alternator on, plumbed it up, and put the belts back on, tensioned those up, and Ben was a happy chap. And he drove back to Auckland last night, 250 kilometers, didn't miss a beat. But I said, look, do keep checking and keep an eye open, for the alternator light, because, if that belt stops rotating again, sure enough, your battery light's going to come on because the alternator won't be being turned. But I think we fixed it. I think that's all it was. So he's now basically gone out and bought a ute because he needed an alternator and a belt. So yeah, pretty good actually. He's increased his stock of vehicles by one rather than go and buy an alternator. But sometimes, when time is of the essence, and I mean, there's lots of other parts on there that he can use over the next few months and years to keep his original ute going. Parts are getting quite scarce, and he didn't pay a lot of money for it, to be fair. So because it didn't have any warrant of fitness, it's got a little bit of rust here and there. Nothing that couldn't be fixed, and a couple of other little minor faults. So I think his plan of attack now is possibly, get a new alternator, put that on his ute, put the donor alternator back on the original engine, a couple of belts, fix the warrant of fitness issues, get a warrant on it, put a bit of rego on it, and flick it on, because he'll probably get about $4.5 to $5 grand for it, and he only paid just over $2 grand, so he'll make money on it for sure. So there you go. That was the ute story. And because we did the engine swap in a very short period of time, i.e. swapped out the alternator, we were all done with it in about an hour. We then had the rest of Friday afternoon just to tinker around the workshop, and Ben did a few other little bits and pieces on his ute. And then all day Saturday, Ben was going to be down here as well. So he stayed down, and we got a shit ton of gardening done. Mrs. Mechanic's been hassling us to get some of the gardening done. There's a lot of brash, well, that was there. It's all, we put Ben in charge of the weed whacker, the strimmer, and off he went, chopping down all the brash and bits of bamboo and stuff. And we've done one load to the tip, and the trailer's fully loaded again, ready to go again. So that might go later on today just to get rid of it. I don't know. We'll see how time goes. But yes, we had to clear the brash out of the back of the workshop because that's where the air conditioning unit's going to go. I've got to make a concrete plinth for it to sit on the external part. It's quite a big job actually, installing all that, but it'll be great when it's done. So all in all, it was quite a different kind of a couple of days to what we planned, to be fair. But I'm very pleased that that Ben's ute's all sorted actually. Oh, we got, sorry, keep going back. Right. Steve. Morning, Andy, everyone. Yes, good morning, Steve. Good to have you on board, mate. And great to see the videos coming out. Well done. Muller, a ute is a pickup car. Pretty much, it is. A truck. Yeah, it's a 1-ton pickup, basically. It's tiny even compared to the Ford Ranger that I have for work. It's pickup trucks have got a lot bigger. They really have. Can't get any more stuff in the cab, but they've got a lot bigger. Mr. Smith, now I am in. Hello from snowy Sweden. Good morning, Mr. Smith. Simon Roll, evening, Steve. Alan Cook, hiya. Morning, Alan. Good to have you on board, matey. Simply Diagnostics, giving him a clap. Good job. MG, morning, Andy. Good morning, MG. Brendan Lee Grant Mills. Hi, Andy. How are you this fine day, mate? I'm all right. It's been pretty knackered, actually. So we got finished the garden. It was red hot yesterday. I think it was 29 degrees yesterday at the height of our gardening adventure. We got to about 2 o'clock, which is sort of the peak heat of the day. We got a lot done. Ben had done really, really well. We decided to call it a day because we were all completely exhausted. I think the heat does that to you, doesn't it? So we just basically packed up and helped Ben load his pickup truck up with his bike and his. Oh, he took a couple of patrol axles back to Auckland to sell for me. You know, a bit of money from that will go towards buying that ROV. It'll certainly help with the deposit. They seem to fetch a lot of money over here. Just the diff itself for a Nissan Patrol here will fetch at least $500. So an axle should fetch, I reckon, about 800, and there's 2 of those, front and rear, obviously. So that'd be good if we can get those sold. Bit of money in the pot, you know, because in all honesty, they were just sat in the garden rusting away, and my Patrol doesn't need axles. I've got spare diffs anyway somewhere. They're just surplus, so we can get those sold. Pete Curran, morning, Andy, and HNY with bells on. Happy New Year with bells on. Absolutely, it's nice to be in a different year, isn't it? Psychologically, it means a lot. Connor K, hey Andy, we just went into a second strict lockdown here in Portugal. Restrictions similar to the ones we had last March. Wow, almost a year ago. Due to the virus numbers going up again. It's not over until it's over. Connor, I feel for you, mate. I think I really haven't been following it in New Zealand, but from what I understand they're allowing students to come back into New Zealand now. But they've also said that if the new strain of virus, the one in the UK, comes to the shores or is detected during the quarantine here in New Zealand, then the whole country will go into an immediate lockdown. That's what I understand. We'll have to wait and see because that's pretty bad. And I say immediate, I mean immediate. They said, look, nobody can go anywhere, which is going to cause chaos because if I'm stuck up in Auckland, I'll be stuck in Auckland. And I need to be down here, really. If things are going to get bad, I might have to just jump in the ute immediately and just hot foot it back wherever I am, basically. So I don't want to be traveling too far away. I think Auckland's about as far as I want to be going. So, you know, 250k sort of radius to where I am. Muller, pump seized. I don't think it was the water pump. I'm pretty sure it was the alternator, in all honesty, but, you know, time will tell. I mean, it didn't seize going up to Auckland, and Ben's going to be checking those belts daily and keeping his eye on his alternator light as well as battery light. Garth May, morning, Andy. Just like to point out, I got lucky this morning. Just saying. Well, mate, good on you. Getting lucky is what it's all about. Muller Volker, I need to do my tooth belt soon. It is in there for over 10 years with 240 kilometers on the clock. Yes, you do the cam belts. Yes, that's way overdue. Simon, well, at least Ben has a parts car now. He does. Ben likes to collect stuff. He's got a lot of motorcycles, some of which are down here. And this will be his second proper, you know, car ute thing for parts. But Ben's also very money conscious as well. So I think he probably will sell it, in all honesty. Although one of the rust points is which they failed it on, is on the passenger side door. Just the frame that goes around the top of the door, it's got quite a serious corrosion problem just at the start near the hinges of the door. And here in New Zealand, I think it's any corrosion within 150 millimeters of a mounting point, i.e. a hinge, is a fail. So that door would need to be taken off, all the rust ground out, and I'd have to make up a new piece to fit in there and weld it in, and then, you know, flat it all off and paint it and stuff. Not a difficult job, time consuming for sure, but it could certainly be done. So we'll have to wait and see what he wants to do with it, really. Steve, I hope the neighbours weren't disturbed by your gardening. We made as much noise as we possibly could, believe me. And we've got two ROVs here at the moment. One was towing the trailer around the garden, and the other one we used for filling up the back of the, you know, it's got like a tray on the back, so we used that to transport stuff around. And I was dragging these axles out, and I was dragging some other scrap that Ben had buried down the garden to go for scrap metal. So yeah, I was up and down all the time, and yeah, we were making plenty of noise. It was good. Muller, I like the Holden Ute. I saw it in an Aussie Farm TV soap. We have the same car from Opel Vauxhall. Yeah, there's a lot of overlap, although there are some models that used to be specific to Australia, I think. I think they've stopped making them over there now, just trying to cut back on production costs and things. Norman A, speaking of engine swaps, would it be a sacrilege in Andy's world to wish for a project where the old Toyota RAV4 is fitted up with an electric conversion kit? Oh, I'd like to watch it. I certainly wouldn't want to be involved with that kind of thing. I think I'm still very much on the fence with the old electric cars and the electric conversions at the moment as well. You know, the old carbon footprint is greatly increased by the componentry that you put on, especially the battery pack. And it's got a finite life as well. I mean, one of the things that really I found astounding was, you know, New Zealand promotes themselves tremendously and is seen by the rest of the world as being a very green country. Probably not the greenest of countries, but certainly very environmentally conscious. And I have mentioned this before, but to register a 50cc scooter or electric scooter equivalent, the road tax for the electric vehicle is almost 4 times as much as it is for the petrol. And I queried this with the government, with Land Transport, and they said, well, you know, the reason for it is quite simple. The reason for it is we don't get any revenue from the petrol sales on the electric vehicle. But in reality, if you calculate it out, that electric scooter has got to cover a hell of a lot of kilometers before the government start to be out of pocket on the tax. And in general, little 50cc scooters are only used, you know, locally. They don't do long journeys. So in reality, the vast majority would never achieve such a high mileage every year. So I think it was very unfair. Also, they have announced now that electric cars here in New Zealand, I don't know the date it's going to come into effect, but the electric cars will have to also purchase what we call road user charges, which is based on mileage. Diesel vehicles have it. My Ute's got a little road user label, and you buy, like, you know, 2,000 or 10,000 or 20,000 kilometers at a time, and it's not cheap. For the Ute, 20,000 kilometers is about about $1,300 for 20,000 Ks. And if you get caught, you know, where your speedo is above the limit. So at the moment, my Ute's got 160,000 K label in it, and it's done 143,000 Ks. If, for example, I had 163 on the speedo, on the odometer, and the label expired at 160, you get fined. And you get fined, I think you're given a 500 kilometer leeway, and then it's $1 per kilometer that you're over. So the fine can be massive if you don't keep it up to date. So yeah, electric cars are going to get, you know, taxed as well. So it's not, I don't think it's that beneficial, in all honesty. I really don't. I think it would only be very specific people that would benefit from having an electric car once that additional charge comes into effect. Now then, Will77, good evening, greetings from Holland. We're getting lots of people from Holland at the moment, aren't we? Rick Farrow, Los Angeles, COVID surging here. Oh dear, COVID's going to take over on the comments, isn't it? I think. Rob, COVID lockdown. At least I'm doing all my projects now. I have loads of spare time, lol. And one part of me thinks I could just do with another lockdown because I've still got a lot. You know, I've got quite a few projects lined up. I can get the CB750 finished, which would be nice. Get the DR finished, would be nice. And then I can make a start on the buggy, which will be even better. Looking forward to that. Bit of a fabrication job. Kill switch. I did an engine swap. My neighbour ain't half going to be a tad mad when he finds my Peugeot engine is in his Porsche. Similar diagnostic, Steve. I'm waiting for some semblance of normality to return so I can get back over to the USA. Meant to be diagnosing cars from east to west via all the YouTubers this year. Not holding out much hope. That'll be a fantastic trip, Steve. It really would. However, I don't think it's going to happen, like you say. You maybe have to put it off a year. Just got to keep safe, mate. It's not good. CDog4109. Hey, Andy, what's the best way to remove stuck diesel injectors from my Mazda BT50? Oh, my word. Well, they're probably going to be the electronic injectors, so you'll have to get a puller. I think you can get pullers for those, can't you? Steve might be able to chip in there. I've never had stuck injectors. All the ones that I've worked on diesels have always been the old mechanical type injectors that you just, you unscrew. And I've always managed to get them out. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I read that Sykes-Pickerton make an injector puller. So that's probably something that you want to be looking at. Muller Volker, there's a Vibromax. What the hell? Simon Roll, CDog4109, pay someone. Yes, that's another option. Jim Haynes, I hope you have had a perfect. Hang on, sorry, I'll start again. I hope you have perfect roads with all the road tax, but they usually just take money and blow it somewhere else. Oh man, don't get me started on that. England, I used to use a lot of the green lanes with my previous business in England, and certainly in the early days, we only used to use green lanes. We used to take people off-roading on the green lane network on the North Yorkshire Moors, the Yorkshire Dales, and in the Lake District, much of which I am quite confident are now fully closed to any kind of vehicle use. But basically, the way the governments work in England, the councils work in England, and Northallerton County Council is the one that I know best. They have what's called the definitive map. So if you ever want to find out if a particular track has got vehicular rights, it's the definitive map that you need to go and ask to see. And the way that the councils got the budget calculated and the money from central government for the upkeep of the roads was based on the mileage of each road category on the definitive maps. So it was in the interest of the council. Sorry, there's a plane going overhead. A plane? What the hell? It's a little plane. It's not a big plane. That one's not going to escape New Zealand. Why would you? So basically, they used to claim as much mileage as they could and keep as many, roads, tracks, whatever, with vehicular rights to get as much money as possible. And they used to get paid a lot of money every year because, especially on the North Yorkshire Moors, there was an awful lot. I think about 135 miles of, green lanes, tracks, roads, unsurfaced, usually just a grassy, muddy track. They would claim the money for the maintenance, and it was quite clear that for decades there was zero maintenance going on the vast majority of those old roads. Much to the point where they would put road closure orders on them regularly. But even with a road closure order on it, it was still legally classed as a road, and they could still claim the money. So they had the cake and eat it, and that money was clearly spent elsewhere, and maybe even not on other road maintenance or builds. So there you go, quick nutshell. Dodgy as hell, isn't it? You're quite right. The money they get goes into a central pot, and they just spend what they want wherever they want, I think. Oh my word. Hang on. Where are we now? Pete Curran, slide hammer for those injectors. Yeah, maybe if you can get onto them. Simple Diagnostics, CDOG 4109. Here we go. Definitely worth hiring a specialist. A world of hurt if they snap off. Yeah. I've often dodged that bullet. Pete Curran, England, roads are a shambles. Rob, they sure are the worst. New Zealand roads, just coming back home again. Well, so I say back to New Zealand. New Zealand roads in general aren't bad, to be honest. They're pretty well maintained. Even the country roads, sort of the B roads, C roads, we call them in England. They do actively maintain their gravel road network as well. There's a lot of grading machines regularly going out. They regularly resurface with gravel. There is a very slow program, I think, of tarmacking the old gravel roads. I mean, New Zealand used to be well known for its phenomenal gravel road network. And in the 10, 11, 12 years that I've been here, some of what I would call the best gravel roads, which are the most interesting to ride, twisty and steep and, you know, fun. In some sections, and in fact, the Wanganui River Road that runs north out of Wanganui and follows the Wanganui River for a while. When me and Ben first rode to the South Island with brother-in-law Danny, most of that was gravel, and now it's all tarmac, and it's been tarmac for a few years, which is a big shame because it was a lot more fun. But, you know, I suppose it's cheaper in the long run for them to tarmac it. Maintenance, maybe, I don't know. Simon Roll, Durham County Council did spend a lot of money on the Doctor's Gate byway and the byways leading up to it about 3 years back. Well, good on them. Hope, you know, I mean, that's fantastic. I haven't looked to see how many of the green lanes that we used to use are now closed. But, you know, I suspect, especially, I remember the North Yorkshire Moors County Council and the national parks especially, so North Yorkshire Moors National Parks based at Helmsley, they were very much on a remit to close as many as possible as quickly as possible. They just didn't want people taking vehicles, be it trail bikes, four-wheel drives, whatever, down those particular roads. And in all honesty, for the sort of 14 years that we used them commercially, even though we had our own site, the site couldn't be open every day. So on the days that we couldn't use the site, we used to revert back to the green lanes. We put tens of thousands of vehicles down those green lanes, and all the vehicles were road legal. They all had full road tax and insurance and everything. So we were quite within our rights to do what we were doing. And it was the customer driving. It wasn't the instructors driving. So it was like a one-off drive for each particular member of the public. And they deteriorated tremendously over that period of time, to the point where some of them were almost impassable, really, without a winch, which it's too much, isn't it? But they were fun, don't get me wrong. We thoroughly enjoyed driving them, but there was definitely no maintenance going on, or very little. CDOG 4109. Thanks all. I only wanted to remove them in order to reset valve clearances and replace rocker cover gasket. I will just wait until I get the dollars to farm out the job. There you go. Sometimes it's better just to walk away, isn't it? Just go, you know what? Let sleeping dogs lie. So, you've been watching the videos on the CB750K2. And man, did I get some videos knocked out over that Christmas period. It was fantastic. I was very happy. I got into a bit of a routine. Edit first thing in the morning. Set that video off uploading. Obviously, as an unlisted video. Get out to the workshop, and in the afternoon, do the next video. And I did that for quite a few days in a row. And I think there's still 2 more videos in the can from memory, which are already sort of scheduled to hit the channel. So it's taken a little bit of pressure off on my end. And that also, again, helped to give me a bit more time to help Ben, because there was nothing that I had to do in the workshop. I've got the K2 back on the hoist for today. And the plan of attack is just have an easy day. I don't think it'll be a video. It's just going to be a case of tidying up all the wiring. I've the next video to go out, which I think will be Tuesday from memory. I can find out for you. I'm pretty sure it's Tuesday. We've done the points installation and how to, do the ignition timing. The next video is the conversion to the Dina. I got told off for saying Dana. It hasn't got an A at the start. Dyna. The Dyna electronic ignition system. That's done. The video's on the channel, waiting to be released. And then the last video to go out, which was a bit of a saga, to be honest. If you remember, there was a point of high resistance in the kill switch, which formed the original part of the primary ignition circuit. So I thought, well, I know I've bypassed that by using an ignition relay, but really I should go in there and give it a bit of a clean up and just see what's going on. So I spent best part of a day extracting the switchgear from the bike. What a ball ache. The wiring goes through the handlebars. And of course, had to take the throttle cables off and stuff as well. Got the switch on the bench, started pulling it apart, and it was just full of problems. It was a great video to do, but there was a lot of work involved. I won't give any more away, but there was a lot of problems with it. Fixed everything, got it all working mint again. Very happy with that. But yeah, long day. I didn't finish till about 8:30 that night, to be honest, which is a long day for me when you start. I think that one I didn't have a video to edit up, so I started about 9:30 in the morning, I think it was. Yeah, so the next one to go out is the Dana ignition, and that goes out on the 19th, whenever that is, at 7 AM New Zealand time. Anyway, I've got a pie. It's been in the fridge for a week, so I don't know how good it's going to be, but we've gone for Mrs. Mac's Mega Pie, beef and cheese. So I know you guys like to see me have a pie, and there it is, the pies. It was actually quite floppy when it came out of the microwave, but it's hardened up now, so I may not need the fork. A warm pie, good. Rob. In West Yorkshire, you did a 4x4 to get to work, lol. Mike Adams. Hi all, listening in while I'm eating a late lunch, while I'm having a late breakfast. Steve was halfway through the points video when you went live. Have you ever done points, Steve? You must have done at some point. Get it? I think it came out pretty well, actually, although I have a confession to make. In that video, I mentioned the fact that on the CB750, there's no little felt that runs on the cam. And I was right, because on this particular CB750, there isn't. But when I took the points plate off to do the conversion for the electronic ignition, the little tiny bracket that sits underneath that I didn't notice is there, but there's no felt. Doesn't matter anymore because it's gone. It's sat in a drawer. It's never going to go back on the bike. I'm sure of that. But I stand corrected. The CB750K2 should have a little felt on there to retain the lubricant for the heel of the points. But hey, we all make little mistakes, don't we? Ryan P, do you get a hard time from people because of the girls on the show? Yes, sometimes. There's always a few haters out there. It comes with any YouTube channel, in all honesty, and I believe that I get a much smaller proportion of haters, trolls, than many YouTube channels. You know, you can't produce a video that satisfies everybody. There's always going to be people saying, oh, I do it this way, you're doing it all wrong. Or I mean, a classic one would be the trailer axle video. That's had a lot of views in the last sort of 6 months. It's done very well, much more than I ever thought it would. But it has, when I'm fitting the hubs, obviously there's a seal at the back of each of the two hubs going onto the stub axle, and I hadn't come across this design of seal before I came to New Zealand. It's known as now I know more details now, but it's called a marine seal, and it's common to be fitted to boat trailers and stuff. That's why they use it here in New Zealand. When I fitted the seal in the video, I didn't know at that time it was called a marine seal, although I think I did mention it was. I've seen it a lot on boat trailers. And a few people have said, Andy, you fitted the seal completely wrong. It has to be put in the back of the hub. That's how they work. You don't put it on the half shaft, on the stub axle. And I'm like, no, you do. This seal goes on the stub axle, and the seal is stationary. The seal does not rotate. There's a little stainless steel insert that goes in the back of the hub, and that's what rotates against the seal. That's how they're designed. And I keep getting told off for fitting the seal wrong, and I know I fitted it right. So maybe at some point I'll be doing a video on how to fit marine type hub seals, and then I can just direct them to that video, can't I? Anyway. So with the girls, yeah, I mean, it's certainly a point of difference for the channel. I enjoy it. I think it's a fun part because, you know, let's face it, it can be quite difficult sometimes to make an automotive type video where you're just doing a repair and talking through the process. It can be quite difficult and it can stagnate quite quickly and become boring, in all honesty, for the masses, without some kind of interaction. Having somebody else in the workshop to bounce ideas off and just to talk to and to do some of the work, which speeds things up sometimes, is a lot more fun, and I think it's fun for the viewers. But some viewers don't like it, and that's okay. Those viewers don't have to watch those videos. And I'm very, very specific that I only put an assistant in the thumbnail if it's a video with a tool girl. If it's a video of me on my own, of course I'm not gonna use it as clickbait. If there's not a tool girl in the video, they're not gonna be on the thumbnail. Simple as that. So, you know, viewers with any sense can just watch the ones that they want to watch. That's the idea. Going back up. So hopefully, Ryan, that's answered your question. It doesn't bother me, really. You know, I quickly get over it. But sometimes the odd comment you do take personally, even though I shouldn't do. Connor K, 40 plus watching, 51 now, holy moly. I always forget to check. It doesn't matter, to be honest, for me. Click the like, thumbs up, Andy. Yeah, we've only got 22 thumbs up and 51 viewers, so somebody out there hasn't clicked the thumbs up, but that's your call. I'll let you decide. Steve, watched the DR video on Thursday and fell in love with Holly all over again. I read that comment, Steve. I did. And, you know, what's not to fall in love with Holly? Honestly, she's really, really good. She is. Great for the camera. Good fun. Somebody did mention that I need to teach her some new words. I think I need to just... It's not a... She obviously is very articulate. She's very good communicator, is Holly. But the problem is, it's my problem. I ask her often yes or no questions. I shouldn't do that. I should, ask her questions that get her to elaborate more on things. So when we're back in the workshop next time around filming in I don't know, back end of February probably, I'll try and do that so we get Holly to say more other than just, yep, But I mean, all the questions that I ask her or have asked her, she can't really say much more than that. Steve, can't beat a good pie. I know, it's looking. You need to see the inside. Look at that. It's a big pie. It's going to take me a while. Sea Dog, love a cold pie. I don't mind cold pies at all. Steve, yes, mate. Loads of points in my younger days. First set I ever did was on a Citroen 2CV. Nice machine. There was a competition in England. Can't remember the background to it. But the idea was, because they used to have a lot of body roll, a tremendous amount of body roll, because they were designed originally to go across ploughed fields. So they had really supple suspension. And there was a competition to see if somebody could roll a 2CV. And nobody could, because they weren't particularly powerful. So, people couldn't roll. I think they were limited to speed. So anyway, somebody did manage it, but he put it in reverse. If you put them in reverse and then flick it, go flat out and flick it into full lock, they will flip over. And I think he won a prize for doing it. I was only a kid at the time. It was a long time ago, but it was a interesting kind of competition. I'm not sure if it would pass health and safety requirements these days, but the first vehicle I ever set ignition points on was a Honda C50. And it wasn't actually a Honda C50 bike. The engine was in my go-kart and the points were knackered. It needed a new set of points. And to do that, you had to take the flywheel off. So you need a puller for that. You couldn't just whack the flywheel with a hammer. No. Soon learned that one out. Had to go and get a second-hand flywheel. I was only 12. Give me a break. Pool Boy, 1960. First chance to actually catch your live stream. Well, good job. Thank you for joining us. Love the content. Keep up the good work. Appreciate it. Cheers from Freelton, Ontario. Wow. Never been there. Chuck Roche. Something. Okay. Muller Volker. Do those seals work in keeping salt water out of the bearing, or is it still the grease keeping the bearing salt water free? Well, they're obviously better, when they're submerged in water. And I mean, boat trailers regularly, get backed into the water to launch the boat. That's the whole purpose of the trailer. And I've serviced plenty of boat trailers where the bearings have still been fine and the seals have been fine. So, yes, I would say that those seals are very good at keeping keeping the water out of the bearings. So yeah, that's why they use them. I think they're a great idea. They're a bit weird when you first come across them. You go, what the hell's going on here? But because they operate or work in a very different way to a standard seal. Simon Rawl, you can have a lot of fun with points. Cross them when your mate has the spark plug in his hand. Yes. I have done that plenty of times. And in all honesty, that's how I used to when I was a kid. Again, my little C50. I used to flick the points and hold the HT lead deliberately, and I'd get the pulse. I get the shock, and I go, well, there's going to be a spark. It's all good. Ignition system's working just fine. And I never thought anything of it. You wouldn't do that nowadays. Remember the old lawnmowers as well, where on the spark plug you would push down a little metal bit, and it used to have a little red insulator on it, but often they would fall off. And when you pushed it down, it was fine. If you held it down solid, it wasn't a problem. But of course, the engine's still rotating, and there's a bit of vibration going on. If you bounced off the spark plug with this grounding spring, it used to often would go through you, especially if you're still holding the handle. Oh god, you get the shock. Hilarious. Again, I don't think they get away with that these days, would they? In the design. Samuel L. Chappell, where can I get pies in the USA? There's lots of. Do you not get pies in the US? You must do. Pies must be an international format of food delivery. Mike Adams. I know people rave on about electronic ignition. Bit my 91 Hot Rod magazine tested single point versus dual point versus electronic ignition performance on the 71 Camaro. The results, single points won. Okay, well, we all know, or we should do, that the reason why manufacturers moved away, or the fundamental reason, the main reason why manufacturers moved away from points ignition to electronic ignition was to do with emissions. It was just like why we went away from carburetors to injectors, fuel injection. It's always driven by emissions, because if they can't meet the emission requirements for that particular vehicle in that particular country, they can't sell that model. And of course, in the States, California is I believe, still the most stringent on emission control. But also with ignition points, and this is why the CB750's got two sets. is the fact that there's a maximum RPM. They can't open and close fast enough above a certain threshold, and of course then you lose your ignition. So they had to come up with a new plan, and of course for the CB they realized that, you know, if we use 2 sets of points then things are going to be slightly better. But very quickly, and I mean with Ben's Ute, the 1993 version has got points ignition. The 95 version that's parked in the garden has got electronic ignition. So, you know, that was sort of the changeover period for them. Very interesting, actually. And I mean, people have been telling me when I worked on Ben's Ute on videos previously that a 93 shouldn't have points. It does. They're there. And I think it's still the original engine, so I can't imagine that somebody would retrofit points ignition to it. It was probably one that was sat in stock for a while before it got registered. But that's an interesting thing to note. I find it hard to believe. I'd be interested to find out what the test criteria was. You know, does it drive better? You know, is it more fuel efficient? Does it produce more power? So was there a dyno involved? You know, or was it just from a driver's perspective? Does it feel nicer to drive? You know, is it a personal thing rather than a data that's collected and analysed? It'd be interesting to find out though. You'll have to take me some photos of the pages with your phone and flick them on an email to me, so I can have a read of that, because that completely goes against why, you know, electronic ignition came around. Pete Curran used to get into trouble for bouncing 2 CVs when I was 5. Mike Adams. The other convenience of points, in a crunch, all you need for points is emery paper, a flat screwdriver, and a matchbook to get going again. Electronic ignition just dies, lol. Absolutely, totally agree with you that points ignition and a carburetor, if you can't get it going, there's something seriously wrong, and you probably don't want to be trying to run the engine anyway. If you're going into the back and beyond, you know, middle of nowhere, then far simpler system to maintain in the bush, so to speak. And you don't need to carry many parts, and easy to diagnose as well. Robert Hickey. Pete Curran. When I was 10, we used to bounce them up on the sidewalk. We call them bouncing Betties. William Brody. Hi, Andy from Minnesota. Oh, my word. USA. Oh, what have I done now? I've done something. There we are. Coming down. There we go. Daniel Ian? Can't pronounce it. Sorry, Daniel. Hi, Andy. Is it possible to test alternator regulator with a lamp to ascertain serviceability? Dan from Kenya. Alternator regulator. Okay. Well, the job of a regulator is just to vary the current flow through the single winding on the rotor. So is it possible with a bulb? Well, you'd have to pull the alternator apart, and rather than use a bulb, you'd have to break the circuit somehow and have a couple of wires sticking out the back prior to the slip rings, and have an ammeter on it to see if it's varying the current flow based on battery voltage input. But it's be quite prolonged. If you had an alternator that had an external reg rectifier unit, you could easily do it. But if it's an internal reg rectifier unit, then it's much harder because you can't get to that part of the circuit very well. Unless you could get to the brushes, you could. I think it would depend a little bit on the design of the alternator, to be honest. Not the easiest. Okay, you can try to think of another way of doing it. What's the symptoms? Why do you think the alternator's faulty? What's it not doing? Is it charging a little bit, but not increasing charge as battery voltage deteriorates? You know, if you put the headlights on, you should see the current flow into the battery. That's the heavy wire out of the alternator. You should see the current flow increase, and you could easily see that with like an amp clamp. If it's doing that, then and the engine revs are staying the same, a fast idle is what you tested at, then the rectifier unit, so the regulator unit must be working correctly. Otherwise, it wouldn't be increasing the output. That's my take on it. I'm sure Steve could add to that as well for you. Norman A, sorry, messed up the thread trying to edit for character count. Okay. Yes, praying you stay COVID free until the vaccines roll out. I think we should do. I really think we should. There's a lot more measures going into place now, but who knows, in all honesty. Pete Curran, they'll bounce forever. Norman A, 3 words, Ducati Scrambler rocks. Hope to afford one someday. They look very cool, don't they, those Scramblers? I've seen 1 or 2 on the road. Yes, do like them. Not a big Ducati fan, to be honest, especially here in New Zealand when there really aren't that many parts available. But yeah, they look cool. They look really cool. And I think Triumph make a similar bike. Not quite as out there as the Ducati one, but still looks pretty cool. Out of the 2, I'd probably be inclined to buy the Triumph. Only because, it's Triumph. Jim Haynes, if points made more power, every race engine would have them. Absolutely, Jim. You are quite correct. CDog 4109, and that's why, Jim, I would like to see what the test criteria was, because I think if they were tested, if it was a bit more detailed and in depth, then I think it would be quite obvious that the electronic ignition is the best option. I mean, I used to have 2 pointing question, pardon the pun. I used to have 2 basically identical bikes. They were both Honda CM200 twin. And the earlier ones were a 6-volt points ignition, dare I say it. I'm sure it was 6-volt, might have been 12. It's a long time ago. And then the one that I used to ride around at college was, I think it was a Y-Reg. So what's that? About 79, 80, somewhere around that sort of time. And that one was electronic ignition, CDI. And the newer one with the electronic ignition, it ran faultlessly. It started on the button. It was really reliable, never had any problems. The points one was on my hire fleet. I had quite a few motorcycles when I was at college, and I used to hire them out to people, wanting to have a bike for a few weeks. And the points one, obviously there was a lot more maintenance involved. You had to look after it, so to speak. Whereas the electric ignition bike was just change the oil, put a couple of plugs in it. That was about it, really. Is overcharging the likely cause of a swollen car battery? No. A swollen car battery is the likely cause of overcharging. So the swollen car battery is caused by the fact that your vehicle is overcharging. And if it's overcharging, it's going to be your regulator. Pete Curran, Suzuki V-Strom all day. They're not a bad bike, the old V-Stroms. The earlier ones used to suffer from stator failures. I remember on New Year's Eve, when I was this is way before my current job, I was working the summer over the Christmas and summer holidays for a motorcycle shop in Takapuna, and they had a hire fleet, and they had lots of V-Stroms on the hire fleet, and there was one. Oh man, where was it? Was it Tauranga? I think it was Tauranga, pronounce it as you like. Quite a trek, and the guy had broken down, obviously flat battery because there was no charge, and it was New Year's Eve. That's right, it was New Year's Eve, and we had I had to go and pick up a replacement from our suppliers before noon, before they closed, and then ride all the way down to Tauranga and drop it off at the bike shop that was repairing it. They had to get it fixed that day so it could go back out, and then ride all the way home. I didn't get home till about midnight. Dedication for you. It was a German guy on holiday. He was very grateful. I never met him, but he was very thankful. He gave me a call and thanked me for delivering the part for them, because you know there was no other way of getting it there. Muller, my 50cc scooter has a headlight like a candle. It only gets bright when the engine revs above 4,000 RPM. I have checked the regulator, the battery is full. It's an AC headlight. It's not run off the battery. A lot of the old scooters just used to run directly off the AC voltage for the headlight. It is what it is, basically. There's not a lot you can do about it, other than the fact that you could rewire it and run it through your battery, but then is your charging system going to be enough to cope with it? And then you could fit a bigger bulb. So you could convert it to DC, but you'd have to totally rewire it. I've done that with indicators. There was oh, can't say the brand, so you know which one it is. It was a 250 trail bike. First letter of the model was a W. And the indicators didn't work in it. I was putting it through certification. I was doing all my tests and I was like, what's going on here? This isn't right. The voltage is all over the place. Turned out the indicators ran through the AC circuit. You know, they were provided AC voltage as opposed to DC, just like the headlight, which was really weird. I'd never come across that on indicators before. And anyway, to cut a long story short, I just wired it up DC. I just took a feed off the battery, put a standard relay in there, and it worked perfectly. And it passed the cert straight through, no worries. But yeah, AC headlight. Quite a few scooters have that. Yes, it's an AC scooter. It starts without a battery. Well, some of your electrics will be DC, but you'll have to just investigate. Daniel, briefly explain how to test rectifier assembly of an alternator. Okay, so your rectifier's got your diodes, and diodes only allow current flow in one direction. So you need a multimeter, ideally with the diode test setting on it. And then you'll need to go either side of each of the diodes to see if they test correctly or not. And there's a video on it, so watch the video. There's a really good video that I did. Hate to say it, but that's based on the feedback that it's got. Some time ago, I did it while I was still teaching, so it's pretty, it's pretty in depth. I've probably forgotten most of it by now. So if you look on the channel for alternator internal testing, and it covers in detail how to test the rectifier on a car alternator. Far better than me trying to explain it now and I've forgotten half of it. Muller, yes, the indicators are, are the same. On traffic lights, they go out. Yeah, so I mean, you could consider converting it to DC and running it off the battery. I take it that you say the battery's got a bike. Sorry, the bike's got a battery, so it should be fine. Steve, here we go. I'd say if the warning light circuit is working and the alternator is rotating, then it should output voltage and current. There's not really an effective dual-Kali method that I know of. Yeah. So if you've got an inductive ammeter, or an amp clamp, we call it, put that around the heavy cable from the alternator to the battery. Start the engine, run it at fast idle, take a reading, turn on the headlights, turn on a lot of other stuff. If you've got a heated rear window, that's a good thing. Internal fan, the blower, turn all that on, and you should see that current flow go way up. And that's an indication that it's, the output is changing and it's responding to a drop in battery voltage. Muller, very annoying. Oh, thanks, Steve. Appreciate that. Very annoying to rev the engine standing at traffic lights. Yes, it is. But there is a solution. You could convert it to DC if you're that way inclined. Shouldn't be too hard to do, to be honest. You'll need to change all the bulbs, I think. Maybe not. Simon, them old of that brand used to use the headlight as part of the voltage regulator to drop the voltage, then off the Zener diode to take the ripple out. Bloody cool. Well, unfortunately, I didn't, I still ran the headlight as AC, so I didn't mess all that up. But it was the indicators that weren't working properly, so. Dodge that one. Didn't know that, Simon. Cheers for that. Herman SR, I like spam. We all like spam, especially in a frying pan. Steve, sorry, Andy. Jua Kali means, under the hot sun in Swahili, as in shade tree mechanics. I really didn't know that. Mike Adams, I just emailed you a link to a more recent test that Hot Rod Magazine did. Single points versus dual points versus HEI. Cool, thank you. I will read that. That'll be my morning tea read. Kill switch, spam fritters. Ben loves spam. He really does. The old pie is still going. So, where do you want to go with this? Because I've given you my little story about Ben and his youth. That seems ages ago now. We're doing really well with these comments. Muller, I was thinking about converting it to LED first. Not sure if the bulb's for AC only. It should run through, a bulb's a bulb. It should run through the regulator first. Yeah, so I mean, if you just take your feed off the battery to run the lights, make sure it's fused, obviously, you should be just fine because everything is regulated before it gets to the battery. So take it off the battery positive. Steve, taught mechanics in a rural polytechnic in Kenya for 2 years back in the day. That must have been a lot of fun, Steve, actually, and very rewarding as well. It was something that I did consider for a short time. When I was at Unitech teaching, I thought, maybe once I've done a few years here, maybe I'll take a year out and I'll go and do some teaching abroad. Unfortunately, other constraints, family, all that kind of stuff, really, discounted that from being an option very quickly. But it was something that I would have liked to have done. I really enjoyed showing people how to do things and seeing their skill set improve. It was maybe not as financially rewarding as I'd hoped, but certainly from a personal perspective, I really enjoyed teaching. It was good fun. William Brody, Minnesota, the home of spam. Jack Selby Dyson. So, good news with the CB750. Got the EFI system in, bike up and running, but it breaks up at about 8,500 RPM. So got some AFR maps to adjust. Okay. Well, good luck. Is it not a self-learn one? Do you not have like an O2 sensor in there as well, so it can actually, start to tune itself? Or is it just one that you've got to basically play around with until you get it right? It sounds like it's the latter. I've never installed an aftermarket EFI system, although we have got one to do at some point. Ben has he's doing a build with a 2-stroke, and he wants to do 2-stroke fuel injection conversion on the engine. Together with a big bore kit and other bits and pieces as well. So at some point in the future, and it's not going to happen for a few years, he's been collecting all the parts. So he hasn't bought the EFI system yet because that may well evolve, but he's been getting a lot of the mechanical parts together. So that'd be a real fun little project to do. But at the moment, he's too busy with uni and work and stuff to even contemplate starting a project like that. Mrs. Max, look at that, 100% Australian beef. I didn't realise that. I didn't realise that they'd imported the beef to, I wonder where it's made. Best before the 7th of May, 2022. What the hell? That is ridiculous. This pie could last, probably last of the zombie apocalypse, couldn't it? Where is it made? I'm just keen to know where it's made. There we go. Mrs. Max Limited. Morley, Western Australia. Wow. This pie's come all the way from Australia just for the live stream. And it's sat in the fridge for a week. Jack Selby Dyson, there's 4 wideband sensors. However, with my current setup, it needs some tuning. I'm not sure why it's not learnt its fuel map yet. It is self-learning. Maybe the pod filters are flowing too much. Yeah, maybe it's, see if it's tapped out. Might be. Robert Hickey, it's like a twinkle. Oh, sorry, it's like a Twinkie, lol. Yeah, they last forever, don't they, those things? Steve, that's a good date for a pie lolly. I couldn't believe it said 2022. I was expecting to say 21. Kill switch, nuclear fallout pie rations, lol. Well, I'll know which ones to buy, won't I, before we batten down the hatches. Bear with me. I still haven't got emails working on my phone yet, so I have to use my laptop. I'm useless. Absolutely useless when it comes to this kind of stuff. Oh, wow. Cheers, Jeff. Got a new patron. Meet Jeff. We got another patron actually the other day. Who was he? Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? He's down here somewhere. Bear with me, people. I know deadly silence is not good. Yes, Jordan. So we've got 2 patrons in the last week. Jordan Ishibashi. I can't pronounce his surname, but thank you very much, Jordan, if you're watching. Appreciate that. And got another one today. Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that. Now then. Sent me an email. I can't see it. Oh. Yes. CB from John Nuttall. CB750 oil wick. This should be interesting. But the 2 finger plate above the condensers is a, yeah. You're right, John. I did spot that one. I'm pleased that I brought that out before I read your email. Good stuff. Oh my word. Tom, when switching to LED on a bike, watch out, can get really hot on the back of the unit. That's good to know. Simon, so how lean do you think a 2-stroke EFI will be? As a lot of the fuel on a 2-stroke goes out the exhaust. Yeah, I don't know, Simon. I don't know. I mean, it clearly works. Because they've had some really good feedback on this particular kit that Ben's looking at installing, and they've had 2-stroke EFI around for quite some time. I think the snowmobiles, 2-stroke snowmobiles, have used it for a long time. So it's not new technology per se, but it's sort of new to motorcycles, I think, or recent for motorcycles. But no, I'm keen to learn more about it, in all honesty. Should be good. Pete, sorry, just got on what happened to Ben's ute. Well, Ben's ute had a suspected blown big end, and he sent me an MP3 file to have a listen to, which is really difficult to diagnose just as an audio. And it did sound quite knocky, I must admit, when he sent it through. So he sort of prepared himself for an engine swap, because he didn't want to, in an ideal world, would have taken his engine out, stripped it, inspected it, probably got a rebook, because it's done like 300 and, I don't know, 40, 50,000 Ks now. So we'd have done a rebore, new pistons, rings, got the crank ground, new shells, put it all back on, and lapped all the valves back in again and stuff. and throwing it all back together. But he says, oh, it's going to take you a month, Dad. You know, I know what you're like. Projects seem to go on forever with you. So yes, you're quite right. You're not going to get back within a week, that's for sure. So he says, oh, okay, well, I'll just go and I'll see if I can buy another ute for the engine. So we did buy that and got his ute, brought that down from Auckland on Thursday night, went to go and pick up the new donor vehicle on the Friday morning. And before we started the job, we fired his machine up, had listened to it, and it sure as hell wasn't the big end. Definitely not. It turned out to be, we suspect, highly likely, I think it could either be the water pump that seized up or the alternator, and it caused that problem to the drive belts. Basically, the belt was stationary, and this damage here has been caused by the belt against the rotating crankshaft pulley. But the belt was rotating. Oh, geez. The belt was rotating when we tested it. And the noise it was making was that part going through the pulley. So dub, 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 dub. And as you revved it, obviously, the frequency of that noise increased because the engine's turning faster. But now the good news was he did still buy the other ute because we'd done that prior to looking at his machine. And we just stole the alternator off it. I was pretty confident it was the alternator that had just nipped up momentarily, maybe for 30 seconds or so, probably during a cold start. You know, or maybe it seized when it got too hot. I just don't know. It did seem to spin okay, but it was a little bit noisy. So it could be a bearing that was on the way out, or it could have been maybe the brushes, a bit of brush had just dropped off and jammed. I don't know. I haven't pulled it apart yet, and he doesn't want me to pull the alternator apart at the moment. But there'll probably be a video on that at some point. See what's going on. He has, since the fix, he has driven back to Auckland, about 250 k's, no problems at all. So I think we've fixed it. Oh, hang on. I've got to scroll back. You're all firing away. Right. Jack Selby Dyson. I may have made a fudge up with my injector calculations. I think I'm closer to 95% duty cycle. I might just put the stock filter on and drop it back to 75% duty cycle. I would prefer not to. Okay. 95% duty cycle is pretty damn high, to be honest. Well, just swap it out, see what happens. Have a play. Muller Volker, I have to get back to study again. Good man. Need to get, oh God, the stereostatic formulas in my head. Well, better than you than me, mate. Honestly, I'd have no idea what you're doing there. Stereostatic. Muller Volker, see you all. See you all, Muller. Thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you next time, I'm sure. John Nuttall, to Muller. It's the rear light that dims. That's a bigger worry at night. Yeah, too right. Especially, you know, when you stopped at lights and stuff, or if you just going slowly to go around a corner or something. John Nuttall, true. Mike Adams, I get what you're saying about the higher RPM affecting points. Now that I think about the physics of it, it has to have a limit. You know, it has to have a finite RPM before the points, the heel starts to, it can't follow the profile of the lobe, the cam. And, you know, then your dwell starts to go to shit and everything, doesn't it? You know, it's not good. Yet points bounce. Pete Curran, next time, Andy, and everyone. Cheers, Pete. We'll see you around. Still going with the pie. It's a big pie. So I went to ISL Industrial, which is the importers of Teng tools here in New Zealand. Went to go and see Brandon on, I think it was Wednesday. Yeah, it was Wednesday afternoon, about 4:30. And he had some stuff for me. And there's some of it still in the ute, to be fair. One of the things that he gave me, I think it had one of the drillings was in the wrong place, so they couldn't sell it, and it's quite heavy, so it's not worth shipping back to the original manufacturer. Is one of those little cranes that you mount on the back of your pickup truck to lift up heavy stuff. Now it's not I don't think it's a hydraulic one. I've not taken it out of the box yet. I think it uses a bit like a boat trailer winch on it. But Ben spotted it, and he says, "Oh, that'll go really well on the back of my ute." So I said he could have it. So Ben's now going to fit almost like an engine hoist thing on the back of his ute for lifting up heavy stuff. So no doubt I'll have to make up some plates that fit under the tray and clamp to the chassis to give it some strength. Otherwise, he'll be bending all the back of his frame. Either that, or he might decide to mount it off. He's going to make a new rear bumper, so he might mount it off the rear bumper, which is probably a much better idea because then it won't impede on tray space. So I think we'll do that. We'll edge towards that, but again, it's going to be a bit. No doubt I'll end up making the bumper for him. That's probably what's going to happen at some point. Could be a while. So, any more questions? What I'm going to do today, if you just joined, is, geez, that was a bit of a dry pie. Oh, it's better. So, there's still some more videos to come out on the channel on the CB750. Obviously, some of the work has been done, but you've not seen it yet. So, the next video to hit the channel is the installation of the Dyna, D-Y-N-A, Dyna electronic ignition system, which I think went really, really well. Very happy with that. And I did try to put a lot of effort into doing that video. I have watched a few on YouTube of other people installing the same kind of kit and onto similar bike, actually. And I definitely felt there was an opportunity to do a much better job, be it with the camera work and the step-by-step installation, explaining what we're doing and why we're doing it as we go along. I think it came out pretty well. So if you do watch the video, please do let me know your thoughts on that video. And then there's another video going out where I basically overhauled the right-hand switchgear, because that's the switchgear with the kill switch in it that have the high resistance in it. So today, really, we've just got a jumble of wires that all need to be tidied up. I've got lots of little connectors to change out. They're all pretty knackered, to be honest. So I'm just going to chill out today. No video to make. Just try and work my way through all those connectors. I might be replacing 2 or 3 more wires as well. I'm still waiting for some loom tape to turn up. I did contact a company in Auckland twice, and they still haven't got back to me, which is really bad customer service. Another company in Auckland that I ordered some phosphor bronze to make those bushes for the swing arm on Holly's DR200. Again, emailed them twice and rung them up once, still haven't got back to me. Terrible customer service. So I've got 2 calls to make tomorrow to chase up all that side of stuff. But yeah, tied up the wiring on the bike. That will be today's job, and then hopefully get some loom tape picked up on Monday or Tuesday, and then I can get the loom wrapped and basically make a start putting the whole thing back together. Alan has ordered some tires for it. They'll need to go on. I need to order a wheel balancer. Actually, I've never had a motorcycle wheel balancer here in New Zealand, at least. So I found a picture. Well, the same people that I got the bike jack from, which is Eurobike, I'm gonna get one of those. What do you reckon, Simon? Any good? I reckon that'll do the trick, don't you? And it looks like you can do wheel truing in it as well, because it's got these 2 little extra bits here that you can put against the rim. I'm hoping, anyway. Oh, hang on, what's that? Or maybe that's for wider wheels. Because we've got a park tools. Hey up. Who's that? Is he still on? Are you there, Steve? Look, you see, I found your picture again. Oh, I've ordered your shirt, by the way. I don't think I can access the imagery from here. See if I've got an email on it. Hang on. We'll have a little look at your new shirt just to get you going. Yes, I need to order a wheel bouncer because I've obviously got to balance the wheels as well. So, yeah. Don't have access. I don't think we've even got one at work to do it, actually. So, oh my word. Oh my word. Oh my. Here we go. Here we are. I found it. I think. What's that one? Is that the shirt? Yes. Right, so I'm going to turn you around. Are you ready? Are you ready? Jeez. Okay, turning you around. If you're still there, Steve, how's that look? You like that? So we've got your logo on the beyond the left-hand chest panel and on the back. Pretty smart, hey? I like that. Oh, so that's ordered. Should be here, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks. So I'll let you know when it gets sent out in the post. Good stuff. And it'll be a one-off. There'll only be one shirt like that on the planet, so look after it. Yeah, nothing else on there. Right. Let's have a little look. James Webber, hello mates. Hello James. Simon Raw, nothing worse than a dry pie. I know. Last bit. Here we go. Damon. Hey all. Hey Damon. Mike Adams. I don't know about anywhere else in the world, but here in Northeast Tennessee, we get fried fruit pies. Fried fruit pies made by Seaver's Bakery. That sounds incredibly dangerous. Daniel, every day is new learning. It's a new learning day. Next time, everyone. Andy, I am happy. Here it's midnight. Oh my word. Midnight is definitely bedtime. Cheers, Daniel. We'll see you next time around, matey. Mike Adams, have you ever thought of fabricating and building your own bike? I have thought, almost. I did actually make a start for my A-level metalwork. When I did my, I was one of the ones that did like a split O-level and GCSE thing. I was in the changeover period because O-levels took 2 years and GCSEs took 2 years, but the changeover was after the first year of me in that sort of learning period. So I did O-level woodwork, did it in a year, got a B+ for that. I enjoyed doing woodwork, it was good fun. Because I wasn't really very good at woodwork. I was always hammer and nails kind of a guy. And then I did GCSE metalwork. And I did that 2-year course. Again, I did it in a year. And I would have only been 15 at the time. And I made a power hacksaw. Yeah, some people made steam engines and bits and pieces. But to be honest, the drawings for the steam engines were already made. You just had to produce it. So, and to me, that wasn't much of a challenge. I wanted to design something. So I built my own, designed and built my own power hacksaw. I did use some components because it was a massive build. I did a lot of it in my own time rather than at school. I used, for example, a BSA banter 175 crankshaft to convert the reciprocating motion of the belt from the motor via an intermediate gear. Where it was actually an old bench grinder that had 2 pulleys on it, just so I could gear it down. So I used a BSA Bantam 175 crankshaft, but I made the whole hacksaw part. I made all the guides that it had to run in, the linear bearings. I made put the little micro switch on there so it stopped once it finished cutting. It was bloody cool actually, and I used it right until the time I left the UK, but I couldn't bring it with me. So it's somewhere, probably in a skip now. But it was really cool. I made that. And then I decided to do A-level metalwork and started with that. And the plan was to build an off-road buggy. I designed it all, and I even built, this is how dedicated I was, I even built a wooden mock-up of the frame, just to make sure that the ergonomics were right, that the seating position was good, and where the steering wheel was going to go was about right. Made it all out of timber. Made a few tweaks, adjusted the drawings, ordered all the box section, started to, and I made a jig to weld it all up in, so I could get it all nice, get all the angles right and stuff. All the gusset plates and stuff. Started welding it all up. Didn't have a pipe bending machine. So it was all made from box section. And I got quite a few companies to help me out. Actually, I got I think AMP supplied all the wiring connectors. I had a company supplying wheels and tires for free. I used the engine I had for it was a Honda 404, which was sat in the workshop. Paid £100 for that. It'd be worth a fortune now. But yeah, there was all sorts of stuff. Oh, shocks. I got all the shocks for free for it. But school, halfway through my course, decided to cancel it. And A-level metalwork was no longer available. And the reason for it was there was only me and two other guys doing it. So it wasn't, in their eyes, cost effective. So unfortunately, the project got shelved. And I ended up cutting the frame up and using the box section for other stuff. What a shame. Oh, sorry, just scrolling back up again. I do ramble on a bit. So there you go, Mike. Not ever thought I'd build my own bike, but buggy, yes. And maybe one day I'll do that. I mean, I've got this go-kart to do, which would be pretty cool. Steve, brilliant. Thanks, mate. You're awesome. Nah, mate, you're awesome. You are. You're a good chap. One of the good guys. Simon Rawle, surprised you cannot get Tessa tape, loom tape, local. In actual fact, Simon, that is exactly the company, because there's one in Auckland. They are the ones that I have actually emailed. I've never used that type of wheel balancer. That type, the static balance that you use on the bench, I've used loads here in New Zealand. It seems to be fine. I mean, you can only do static. You can't do dynamic balancing on it, obviously. But it'll be just fine for Alan's CB750, believe me. Mike Adams, Daniel, like my dad used to say, the day you stop learning is the day you're laying about 6 feet under. Absolutely. Simply Diagnostics, Steve, mate, that looks fantastic. Thank you very much. Oh, God, I love hearts. I feel a bit uncomfortable now. It's all right, Steve, mate. You're all good. No problem at all. Norman A. Hey, mate. Recommend you look up self-helmic. Oh, hang on. I've heard this. Or blogging while scarfing. Mrs. Max pies could lead to quite a traumatic scene from this side of the screen. Need you to stick around, Andy. Really? Are they that bad? Okay. All right. I won't get those anymore then. Oh, yes. The Heimlich maneuver is if you get something stuck in your throat, isn't it? Yeah. It wasn't good, actually. One bite was pretty dry, in all honesty, but I think it's because it's cold as well now. So it's partly my fault. Norman A. Could get a frozen piece in the centre of a pie one day. If so, remain calm till it melts and swallow with a dose of beer. Okay, I'll remember that. John Nuttall. Andy, did you remember to look at the emails I mentioned last week? Yes, I'm pretty sure I did, John. I'm going to go back through them again. I'm not over busy today, so I'm going to just try and get caught up on that side of things, but I'm sure I did have a quick glance. I am not very good at replying, John. I think that's half the problem. Damien Melby. What would be a good trailer to build so I could call cars and use it for multiple reasons? Okay, well, if you're gonna have a trailer, I could call them a car trailer. If you're gonna build a trailer to put a car on behind your ute or car, whatever you're going to use to tow it, you really need twin axle. You absolutely need twin axle. Single axle, I've seen people make car transporters out of old caravan chassis, and the suspension's not up to it. A single axle tends to wander around, and then you've also got the huge problem of how unstable it is when you have to unhitch it from the towing vehicle. You know, you've got all that weight just on one axle, and it puts a lot more load, on your jockey wheel, makes it a lot harder to move the thing around, I think. So definitely twin axle. If it's just for cars, you could put a beaver tail on it, so it's, you don't need such long ramps, and obviously it does need to be braked as well. Don't do it not braked, because again, it weighs quite a bit and you want the additional braking. It does depend an awful lot on on the legal requirements for trailers in your country or your state. I know here in New Zealand, you can tow up to 2-ton trailer with the load, obviously. So 2 tons gross with no brakes on the trailer. And that's crazy. It's absolutely mental. Wet, rainy day, slippy roads. If you're towing it with a car, so say that the car can tow up to 2 tons, you're just not going to get stopped. Horrendous. Kill switch. Metalwork at school. Throwing stars and knives. Yes, we all made the throwing stars. In fact, the throwing star was supposed to be a candlestick holder. That was, I think, one of the first things we made at school. And we learned how to use tin snips and cut bits of tin out and stuff. And of course, when Baz, he's passed away now, unfortunately, but when Baz used to come in, or I used to walk off, we'd all start making our own little projects and then tuck them back under the bench, and they'd come back in and we'd carry on with the candlestick holder that we're supposed to be making. Great fun. I do remember, actually, I was doing some brazing. It was the first time, I think, first or second time I'd used the brazing hearth. And it was a big blowtorch thing, all these heat bricks and stuff. And you turn the gas on the side of the table thing. So you turn the gas on there, and then there was another turning on the actual torch as well. And I think I'll blame somebody else for this, because I think the person that used it last didn't turn it off on the bench switch. They just turned it off on the torch. So anyway, for whatever reason, I can't remember the details, but I think my igniter wasn't working or something, so I had to go away momentarily. You can see where this is going, can't you? Go away momentarily to get another igniter, or to get a lighter or something to light it. Came back, got the torch, lit the torch, boom! This huge fireball basically just appeared in front of me, and then almost like a mushroom cloud billowed up into the roof of the metalwork shop. And I was just stood there watching it going up and then roll across the ceiling. Fortunately, there was nothing up there that was, flammable. Otherwise, it would definitely have caught fire. But there was quite a lot of black soot left on what was previously white walls, or semi-white walls. And then I remember my face feeling really hot, and I pretty much burnt off my eyebrows completely, and my eyelashes had almost pretty much all gone as well. I think back then I was quite clean shaven. I might have had a bit of a moustache. And all that was all burnt as well, I think, from memory. All I could smell was burnt hair. Yeah, accidents do happen, don't they? That was fun. I can still remember it today. It was just classic cock up. Right, where did we get to? Right. Here we go. Sorry, I didn't finish Kill Switch's comment. Metalwork at school, throwing stars and knives. Shame I couldn't enter them for GCSE. They were awesome works of art. Lol. One of the things that I did make, I used to have a Suzuki Beamish. Yeah, Simon, see if you know what this is. A Suzuki Beamish 250. A weird bike, really weird. 2-stroke, air-cooled. And I decided to make an ice tire. Now, don't really know why, but I did. And I had a pretty worn out square block tire that used to be on like a trials bike tire. So I made some only mild steel made in the lathe. I think I had to make, from memory, I think there was 87 of these to make. And there was just like a steel cone with an M6 thread up the back. And then you had to, and I did it on every other square. So like you'd have if there were 3 squares across the tyre, 3 block treads across the tyre, you'd do the outer 2 and then the middle one next, and then the next outer 2 and then the middle one next. So they obviously, you know. So I made it all up. It took me a couple of Saturdays to machine everything up and drill and tap everything. And then I fitted it to the tyre, and I put like an extra bit of inner tube in there so that the bolt heads wouldn't. I think I used pan heads, but you know, to protect the tube, I put an extra bit of rubber in there when I built it all up, glued that into place, and then fitted it to the bike, and it looked deadly. It looked absolutely horrific. I went out for a ride, took it into the forest, and man, that thing would go anywhere. It just gripped, and even over like tree roots and bits of wood and stuff, it just used to grip in and off you go. I really couldn't hardly stop the bike from wheeling. It was just always grippy. It was great fun. Honestly, though, I've fallen off and that spinning tire had gone against my leg. Could you imagine the damage it would have done? So it didn't stay on the bike very long. It was great fun. Tested it. Yes, it worked, but did I feel comfortable riding around with it on? Not at all. Absolutely not. So it got taken off, and I don't know where that tire is. It went years ago. I've no idea. What a shame. All that work. Mike Adams. Andy, my grandfather owned a restaurant. A trick he taught me about heating up any kind of breads to wrap it with a damp paper towel. That puts just enough moisture back into it. That's good to know. I'll try that. Try that with your pies next time. I will. Simon, I know what a Beamish is. Awesome trials bike. Yeah, I had a lot of fun on it. I mean, it was my sort of first full-size bike. I had a few problems with it, I must admit. But it wasn't expensive. We didn't pay a lot for it. And when I sold it, I think we made it slightly, you know, we sold it for more than we paid for it. Little bit of a hard seat, you know, and it was pre-mixed. I remember mixing up the fuel, so you had to pre-mix it into the tank. I remember spraying it. I stripped the whole thing down, rebuilt it a few times. You know, it was a good learning bike for me. And, you know, it seemed to start okay. It was pretty reliable from that front. Had a few gearbox problems, but other than that, it was all right. Probably worth quite a bit of money now, like all those old bikes. Damon Melby. I would rather have the trailer brakes because it helps stop the trailer and in not just using the power of the truck brakes only. Absolutely agree. Totally agree. Trailers should, unless they're a little tiny trailer, they should have brakes on them. If you're moving cars around, you've got to have brakes. Definitely. Okay, so where are we at? So I think we're going to... One more cigarette and then I think we'll sign off for an hour and 42 minutes. What the hell? That is ridiculous. You can tell I'm not in a rush to get any work done today, okay? William Brody. Around here, they have taken shop classes out of schools. What a shame kids cannot get a taste of the trades. Absolutely. I mean, the same thing happened, you know, even when I was a kid. They stopped doing, so I'd have been about 17, 18. I was doing my A-levels. And they stopped doing woodwork. And they stopped doing metalwork. And then they started to teach multi-material or something. And basically, it was all plastic work. And they just cut sheets of perspex, you know, and use a machine to warm it and bend it and that kind of thing. And that's pretty much all they were doing. There was no more use of lathes or pillar drills or milling machines or power hacksaws. There was no brazing. There was certainly no welding. I mean, I bought my first stick welder when I was 12, I think it was. £99 from Argos. It was brilliant. Although it kept overheating, it had like a little thermal cutout switch on it. So I thought, that's not really good for me because I can't be waiting for ages for it to cool down again. So I got an old fan off a radiator of a car, and I drilled some holes, took it all apart and drilled some holes in the back of it and mounted the fan on the back. And the fan ran off a little 12-volt battery charger that I used to have that I mounted to it. And that was enough to, well, either cool the welder or cool the bimetallic strip. I could never really work out which. But it never failed, and I gave it away in the end when I bought a MiG. But yeah, and over here, when I first got to New Zealand, there was a school up near Warkworth that had just sold off all their lathes. So again, the schools here, exactly the same. They're just not teaching that hands-on kind of stuff anymore. And for me, that was like the highlight of the week. It made doing English and maths bearable because you were looking forward to doing metalwork, for example, in the afternoon. And all that just disappeared. It was crap. I feel really sorry for my kids, to be honest, because they never got a chance to experience that kind of stuff at school. Ben did a little bit actually at Green Bay High School. He got to make some stuff. We actually patented something. We made a bike rack. There's a lot of hatchback cars in New Zealand, and we made a bike rack that would clamp to your tow bar. It would clamp on the ball, and we called it Swing Away. So you put your bicycle on it, and then it had like a pin, and it had a big hinge, and you could actually swing the whole bikes away, a bit like a spare wheel carrier almost, but swing all the bikes away so you had full access to the back of the car. It was brilliant, and we put a patent on it, but that's as far as it got. I think we did 3 or 4 different versions of it. Good thing we made, and we've still got it somewhere. I don't know where it is, but we've still got it somewhere. Probably in one of the sheds. Simon, have a look at the Honda TL200. I'd love to have one. Honda TL200. I think that name rings a bell. Images. Honda TL200. Oh, look at that. That's nice. I do like that. This is a TLR 200, the one that I'm looking at, but the older one, TL200, yeah, which is a bit more flat. Very cool. That looks very, very similar, Simon, to, although it's 4-stroke, obviously, looks very similar. It's not your classic trials bike stance at that point, is it? You know, the seat's not really, really low. It's more the same height as the tank, which was pretty much the same as the Beamish, to be fair. Very cool little bikes. A friend of mine used to, well, in fact, my godfather's son Paul, he used to have a Montesa trials bike. I don't think he's still got it, to be fair. But yeah, that'd be a nice bike to have. Those kind of things seem to go for stupid money over here. The One Civil Man, sorry, just joined, but he just got us in time. We're going to be signing off soon. One Civil Man, it's been so long since I've been on. I was up all night watching your videos. Really? What a bloke. Simply Diagnostics, do you have snakes and spiders, same as Australia, in your sheds? There's no, I don't think there's any snakes in New Zealand. Not yet, anyway. Spiders, yes. Yes. And cockroaches. Do get a few cockroaches. And there is definitely a rat that keeps coming in. Not while I'm here, obviously, but there's definitely a rat. I'm sure he comes in from that far corner because there's a bit of a hole over there. But other than that, it's not too bad. A few wasps, a few bumblebees, but they're not too bad. You can usher them back out of the workshop pretty easily. But no, New Zealand is a pretty safe place in comparison to Australia when it comes to things trying to kill you all the time. We do have a spider with a little white tail spider, and they can be real nasty, those things. Don't see very many of them. I haven't seen one for quite some time, but you're always a bit wary about spiders, and there seems to be quite a lot of spiders around, and I'm not a fan of spiders at all. One Silverman just retired the 49cc quad bike because it blew up. Well, at least it went out with a bang. Got a big upgrade. Oh, okay, so you bought a new one. Good man. Steve, saw the praying mantis in the last video. They look cool. They are pretty cool. They're not life-threatening in any way, shape or form. And when they get a bit older, they seem to sort of just do this all the time. They can't. It's like, you know, they're on something because they can't quite sit still. They're always doing this. But those little tiny ones that were on the Speedo, they were well cool. They all went flying with the airline, to be fair. But Holly wasn't a fan of anything like that. And in actual fact, she got a spider on her forehead one day, and she didn't know it was there. It was just in her hair in front of her forehead, and she really freaked out. which I don't blame her, to be fair. She wasn't happy. One's about it's a Polaris Ace 325. That's a much more powerful machine. Mike Adams. The very first motorcycle I ever learnt to ride was my cousin's Honda street and trail bike. If I remember correctly, the size was an 80. Wow. Phil used to have he had a Pee Wee 50, and then he got a, what was it called? LT80? Was it an LT? I can't remember now. Oh golly, what was it? Was it a TR80? It was. It was a TR80. I think it was. It was a TR? I don't know. It's too old. I'm too old now. But yeah, that 80cc Yamaha trials bike thing it was. He had so much fun on that. Two-stroke. I'm sure it was two-stroke. Sure it was. Ring a ding 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 ding. Great fun. Now then, where are we? Yes. LT. I'm sure it was an LT80. Sure it was. LT80 from memory. Damien, what kind of steel to make the frame should I use to build the car box, and what kind of wheels? Okay, well, you want to really get your wheels and everything, car derived stub axles and hubs and brakes and stuff. And your steel, I'll be using some box section for your frame. Basically, just build a big ladder frame and box section. Don't just go for angle iron because it'll flex too much. Box section, that's the way to go. I built a massive, great big plant trailer years ago to carry about 4.5 ton. And I used, in fact, if you want to go trailer stuff rather than use car stuff, you could go for independent suspension, where they use like rubber triangles trapped in a box section. That's pretty maintenance free, to be honest. Seems to work pretty well. Mixed mowers. Yo, hi mate. From the GB. Hope all is good. Yes, everything's going just fine, Mick. Running out of energy today. Did a lot of gardening yesterday. I'm not a gardening kind of a person. It was red hot. But we got a lot done, which was good. Simon, been looking at the PW80 CDI system. Looks very much like it will just bolt onto the 70s DTs. Oh, we had a little dropout there. Something wrong with the internet, I think. Yeah, I've had a PW80. We bought that in Greenhithe, not Greenhithe. When we were at Great Glen, it was. And there's a picture somewhere of Ben on it in the back in one of the paddocks, just charging around like an idiot, covered in mud. He had a great time. We sold it. We made some good money on that one actually. One of the, I think it was the swing arm bolt had overlaid in the frame, and it was quite a big fix for the dealership to do because they didn't have a MIG. So they've had to send the frame out to get it fixed, and the customer didn't want to pay too much money to fix it. So I made them a silly offer and they accepted. So got it, fixed it up pretty quick, and the kids had it for a short time, and then it didn't get used, so it got sold. Tom Blankendale started on a Kreidler. What the hell's that? Killswitch BB, YZ250 was the field bike of choice in my day. YZ250s are still awesome bikes, still around. You can still buy them brand new. Fantastic machine. Mixed mowers. Hi all in the chat. The one Silverman, I was watching Tool Girl videos of you changing the oil on your 2006 KTM from 2018. Yes. First ever Tool Girl Harley. She did a fantastic job that day. She really did. That was the first day I'd ever filmed with an assistant. And I was still getting the hang of the camera angles and stuff. So my apologies if you only saw Harley rather than the bike. Yeah, I was maybe a bit preoccupied. Anyway, such is life. Good videos though. Great fun. We had a good, really fun day filming that day. And that's what paved the way to me deciding that having an assistant in some of the videos would be a good idea. And I think, hindsight, it looking back, on reflection, it's been a great venture really. We've produced about 130 videos now with Tool Girls in, which is no mean feat, to be honest. They take a bit of directing, usually. One Civil Man proves you've always made good videos. Cheers, mate. Right, I think on that high note we will end. Thank you. Almost 2 hours. Wow. Thank you all for joining me today. I know some of you have been pretty much all the way through. Oh, John Nuttall, did Belstaff ever get back to you, or did someone kink you up? They did finally email me back. I didn't get the answer I really wanted, but I got the answer I suspected. In the long way up, Ewan is wearing a Belstaff jacket, as is Charlie, but Ewan's is it's got the black shoulder pads, but it's more of the browny textured material for the jacket. I wanted one of those. I didn't want the all black one. They only make the all black one for the public. The one for Ewan was a special order, and they're not prepared to make another one on a special order, which is a bit of a shame. So I'm going to have to get saving up, and I'm going to have to bite the bullet and buy the black one. That's just all I can do. But yeah, a very different kind of jacket to what I've had in the past. Normally I ride with leather jacket. But unfortunately, I think my old leather jacket probably is a little bit too tired and probably a bit tight now, actually. Won't be that comfortable to wear. So it's time for a new jacket, so I thought I'd go for a Belstaff. So I will definitely place the order. Oh my word. Lots. Steve, been an awesome stream, Andy. Thank you very much. Have a great week, everyone. Yes, thank you, Steve. And again, I'll let you know when that shirt's getting dispatched. They haven't yet started to make it, so it'll be 2 or 3 weeks before it gets sent from here. Probably a couple of months before it gets to you, I would say. But do let me know when it lands. Harry Darg, would have joined you earlier, but I broke my hip bone and 2 ribs. Fell off a 50-foot power pole. What the hell, Harry? Stop doing that kind of stuff, mate. That's not good. Holy shit, that's going to lay you up for a while. Well, I hope you get better soon, Harry. That's terrible. Simon, have a good week, Andy, and all. I will, Simon, and you too, sir. Thank you again for all that you contribute. I really appreciate it. Killswitch, see you all. Simply Diagnostics. Get well soon, Harry. Take it easy, pal. Right, that's it. If you want to support the channel, there's lots of different ways. As you know, you can go onto Zazzle and buy stuff. You can go on to Patreon and become a patron. You can drop via PayPal and send a few dollars this way if you like. Or, which is my preferred choice, is spread the word. Share a video on your social media. It all helps to bring a few more people into the mix. All right, crew. Well, until next time. See you again, live stream, don't forget, next Sunday, 8:30 a.m. New Zealand time. And watch out, because there are a couple more videos going to hit the channel this coming week. All right, crew. Thanks again. See you around. Over and out.